I'm sidetracked from the engine just for a second. I mentioned I had the wrong clutch discs in here. These are the original ones. These are asbestos with a bronze or brass weaving in it. And what I ended up doing was getting some clutch discs out of like a 30 John Deere tractor, which are thicker than this. So what that means is I have to machine the flywheel down the thickness, the additional thickness of the new clutches. Now, on top of that, these have straight cut gears in them, and there's no synchros. What this is, this bolts to the front of the transmission. There's the input shaft. When you put your foot on the clutch, the throwout bearing comes back, hits this, stops the input shaft from turning. Then you can shift gears without grinding gears. What I need to do is get this up, unbolt the transmission, back it up far enough to where the throwout bearing's hitting, the clutch disengages, measure that distance, and that's how much I have to machine off the flywheel. The other way I could do it, measure the distance or the thickness of these two plates versus the other two plates. But I'm going to do it the hard way because that's what I do. And a clutch return spring in here. I'm just going to take the bolt out so the tab will come off with it. Oh, the washer just went down my shirt. Guess I'll find that later, huh? Yeah, doing this clutch thing's going to slow me down, but it needs to be done. I've been suffering with 4 years with this clutch being out of adjustment. But good luck trying to find friction plates for this year Nash. I was lucky enough that the John Deere ones were the right ID and OD. Believe it or not, all this is original. This cover, all original. Okay, I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here now. I do have the clutch shimmed away from the flywheel, but not far enough. And then right here is where that throwout bearing is supposed to come back and hit to stop the input shaft from turning. What I got to do is I was going to move the transmission back, but now that I thought about it, I'll just move the clutch back and then measure the distance, and that'll give me the number I need. And let the fun begin. But there's a lot of spring pressure in here. It's mainly when I put the throwout bearing and attach it to the clutch itself. I made a jig to do that. This shouldn't be too bad. But these aren't normal clutches. This is a Borg clutch, which would be before Borg Warner. You can see it's under a lot of pressure. Lots of pressure. I don't need this thing hitting me in the face. Wow. Wow. Woo! I didn't use the fixture to hold it together, but I got it apart. Believe me, when I put this back together, I'll be using my fixture. Now I'm going to show you what I was talking about with the friction plates. This plate here is on a cam. It makes it adjustable. You can see the adjustment. It should come right out. Should come out. It doesn't want to though. Come on. Let me go get a screwdriver. Yeah, trust me, when I put this back together, it ain't going together the way that came apart. I forgot. I knew it was dangerous. I just forgot the metrics in it. I was too lazy to get out my dikes manual. Okay, there's this one. That's out. There's 3 pins that lock that in place, and then also holds the clutch disc in place. I should be able to pry these out. Let me grab a smaller screwdriver. Or actually, let me get a small chisel. A small sharpened chisel should do the job. Don't lose these pins. Come on out of there. You know what? I'll get these pins out, and then after they're out, I'll show you what's going on. Ooh, that pin's being a mother. Luckily, there's through holes. It does not want to come out. That's somewhere across the shop. Okay, now I got that pin out. I'll show you how that clutch pack works. You got friction plate on this side, the friction plate on this side. And this is what I'm talking about. These being thicker than the production stuff. Let's go take a look. Okay, the results are the OEM clutch packs add up to 1/4. The John Deere are 5/16, difference of 1/16 of an inch. I put the 1/8 inch washers in there, and I said they were too big. I think I can get away with machining that flywheel down 1/16 of an inch, in between a 1/16 and an 1/8. And that'll give me the adjustability I need, and that will fix the problem that I've been going through. Hey, I'm about done for the day. Yeah, I'm about burned. Okay, let fun begin. This bolt is not drilled uniform with the rest of them. That distinguishes top dead center, which I have it at. I've got it marked on this behemoth of a flywheel. Oh. Oh. Let's get this thing on here. Oh. Come on, come on. Okay, I gotta reposition my hands. older I get. Okay, I'll explain something here. I machined that down 80 thousandths. And when I go to put the clutch together, I'm going to let you know. Just going to go through and torque these down, probably 90 foot-pounds, nothing too crazy. Now, I don't know. I got all these videos jumbled up because I'm doing everything at once, but that is the stock clutch. Friction plate, friction disc. This comes from a John Deere implement. It's modernized. Plus, you can't find these. There's 2 of them per clutch pack. These are thicker. So what I did is I took the difference of the thickness and I machined it off of the flywheel. And the reason why is because when you go to bolt up the spring plate, it'll throw off where the throwout bearing is and it won't work. I haven't tried this before. This is the first time I've tried it. In my mind, it should work. We'll see how it works. So I don't think it really matters which direction these goes, but I'm just going to put it in like it would go in if there was no center drive plate. Just like that. And I've got these lock pins that go on here that hold everything in place. I know, what's my elbow look like? You might have to tap them in. But when you do, make sure the flat sides are facing you, because we don't want them touching the disc. There's corresponding holes in the spring plate, the clutch itself. This is the one that gave me trouble coming out. It's going to give me trouble going in. Nobody needs to see that. Well, I misled everybody. These things go on the other way. They're easy to get out. You just tap them out with a punch. I don't know if you can see this, but it goes this way. So the longer part faces the clutch pack. Like I said, not really a big deal getting these out, especially that one. I'm going to put the hard one in there. That one came out real easy. Just try to stop these from turning when you put them in. There. When I go to put the clutch together, I'm going to show you why those go the way they do. Until then, I got to go compress the springs, or the spring in the arms. I'm going to try to explain this clutch to you the best way that I can, because it's unlike anything most of everybody's seen before. This is a Borg clutch. I think it was before Borg Warner. What the fuck, my son of a bitch. My honing stone was in the way. Okay, now there's a ramp on this. There's 3 ramps, 3 paws with adjustable slides. The way this all adjusts is tight and loose. If you go clockwise, it tightens the ramp. So the way this has got to go is that goes in there. I am going to compress this down far enough to where I can get these into the throwout bearing groove. And then I am going to place this on top of it. And then I'm going to hold it together with these wooden blocks that I made that are going to grab it. This is how I should have taken it apart. Don't take it apart the way I took it apart. It was 4 years since I took it apart before, and I have longer shits in my memory and clearly forgot how I took it apart. But let's go get this put together. Okay, got everything lined up. Got this as high up as I can go because I need all the throw I can get on this. I hope it's enough. It should be. I guess I could flip it around and do it the other way too, but I like to do everything the hard way. Make sure they don't get caught in the springs. Leave these up until you're ready to get them into that throw-out bearing groove. It's going to be close whether I got enough room to pull this off or not. I know there's better ones somewhere. So making sure all three are falling into that pilot bearing groove. Looks like I'm going to have enough room. Yes, this is how I should have taken the clutch apart, by using these lock thingamajiggies. Okay. Come down a little farther. Yeah, I think that should be far enough. Oh yeah, that's more than enough. Put them in from both sides. Okay. Imagine I could probably make a tool out of steel to do this. Oh God, I hate this. Like an unsuspecting woman, it's gonna go off in the face, I know it. Okay. That's my scary contraption right there. And I don't have these in all the way. I don't know if it matters. Okay. Let's get this in before it explodes. Okay, let's put the adjuster plate in. These tabs are the ones that line up with that. Now, the part that I need to get as many of these bolts in as soon as possible. God, I hate this. It is, it's like a freaking bomb waiting to go off. And the thing is I gotta stand with my head right in front of it. Okay, what do I got here? Haha, it's directional. I gotta find how the bolt holes line up. Oh, I remember. I marked this when I took it apart. No, I just gotta find the mark. Right there it is. I think. Yep, right there's the mark. Always mark shit when you take it apart. What the hell's going on? I don't know what went on with the video, but that was a little bit of Megadeth for your listening pleasure. Let me get back to being scared to death because I only got one bolt holding this in. My head's right in front of it. Come on. What did I do with the ratchet? I swear to God. I just had it. Okay, I found the right bolts for it. No longer trying to put the front cover bolts on or the side cover bolts on. Oh, come on. Problem with 104-year-old bolts. Geez, I'm forgetting everything. I gotta line up the pilot bearing. So I just gotta loosen these. You know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna snug these up a little bit and I'm gonna make, oh Jesus. I'm gonna make a little contraption to center up the pilot bearing. Okay, what I did is got a 22 millimeter, half-inch, slide over 3/8 drive, and a 13. That'll stick in there, that'll stick in there. Then I can move this around until I have a good shot down the center, and I'm eyeballing this. It is low. Oh, I got to get into the smaller one. I see what's going on. Boy, that plate don't want to line up either. Let me see if I can get this where it needs to be. There we go, it's moving. So I just got to play with this and I'm going to eyeball it until it gets centered. I'm going to put a smaller one to get into the friction drive plate and get that aligned first. Like everything, I made it more complicated than it needs to be. All I did was come in here with a screwdriver, move the drive plate visually into center, and then just tap on the throwout bearing, get that to where it looks center. And then release the blocks. Throwout bearing's moving, so that means I'm going to have to recenter that after I get this out. Oh, why did they make everything? You know, there's a tool for this somewhere in the world. You know what it is? It's a BFH. That's what it is. You know, once I get this out, then it's going to be harder to set this. Oh yeah, we're going to do a little around the world with it, huh? And of course, you know, I put the screwdriver on the other side of the garage like 4 seconds ago. I hope this isn't a premonition of what my golf score is going to be today. Oh, wow. Okay. All that jerking around. Yeah, that moved. So now I got to go ahead with the sockets and move that stuff into place now that I got the spring pressure on this. Keep on hitting my head on the bottom of something. Son of a bitch. Okay, this is what I was trying to achieve. See how the splines are centered with the pilot bearing? And the throwout bearing is centered with the spines. Now that I got that, the plate's a little snug because I got the bolts backed off. Now I can go through and torque those. Another thing I'm going to show you is that plate will slide counterclockwise now. Now, sometimes if you don't get a good clutch adjustment, you might need somebody to go in the car and put their foot down on the clutch and then adjust it that way. I'm going to adjust it in the neutral state first and see where it goes. Okay. I'm busting loose out of this early. This is too hot in here. It's like 85, 90 degrees in the garage. Dehumidifier is going full blast. I don't know what the humidity is, but it's oozing from under the door. I've got it down to 41. And then there's also a film, me using the morotic acid and nickel plate and shit. We got some really good fumes in here today. Oh, getting close. Getting close. Temporarily put the transmission in. The reason why, there's an input shaft brake material that goes in there when the throw-up bearing is all the way back. I may or may not need to make a shim to put that in there. I'll figure that out. But like I said, I machined 80 thousandths off the flywheel. What was happening before is this was hitting the clutch carrier there. So the way this clutch adjusts is it's on a ramp. I showed that earlier. And look at my clutch pedal. It is tight. And I don't want that because it's going to cause problems. So what I can do is I push the clutch pedal down and then I slide these over. And let me do that. I'll go to the extreme to show you what happens. Now I've moved it with the clutch pedal all the way down. I've moved it to where it stops. You can see there's still plenty of adjustment in there, but now look what I got going on here. I do not want that. I want it to where it's barely going to touch that. Barely going to touch it. So let me adjust that and see where that is. Yeah, this is where I'm comfortable with it. That's the movement right there. There's a clutch spring on the pedal spring on the other side that will pull those levers off so it won't drag on the bearing. So right there is going to be my first adjustment. I'm going to tighten that down in place where it's at. I need to get the front bearing carrier out of this. So I have to take the clutch shaft off. It's not a big deal. Just got to pull these keyways out. Whew. Lucky thing I have this chain down, huh? Okay. Or do I have it chained down? Doesn't look chained down too well to me. Okay. I should be able to slide that shaft right out now. I should be able to. Gotta remember the way the ears went in there. I got some gubber on the end of the shaft here from where I tightened it down. Okay. I am gonna re-chain this down. This is making me very uncomfortable. Let me get that done. Okay, it's a little better than what it was. You can see where this brake used to be right in here. But since I had put those newer discs in, It threw everything out of cattywampus, and it instantly ate up the disc that was on there. Believe it or not, spare transmission parts. So this is OEM stuff. I am going to take that and put it on there. It's just a matter of riveting it on there. I wonder how much tranny fluid we get out of here. And I'm not talking Budweiser or Bud Light. Okay. There's shims in here, so you got to be careful because the shims are in here to set the shaft end play. I'm sure knowing me, RTV'd the crap out of this when I put it together. Might be just as little as tapping it to get it to break loose, or it might be a little bit more. It's going to be more. I ended up giving it some love taps from the output shaft that broke it loose. Oh, come on. Jesus, I thought I had this down tight. Live dangerously, I tell you. That's what I do, live dangerously. Come on. There's got to be another tool to get in here. Oh, shit, fuck that. I'm getting mad now. Oh yeah, now it will sit straight up. Okay, I need to have a talking to this in private. Okay, what I've done, I've got some brass rivets, and I want machined up an end for my impact gun. And a nice little button on the back side of that. Go do that. All done. Now let's put it back on, get this transmission in, get the exhaust intake in, get this thing running, man. I'm almost out of beer. I got to make a beer run. My beer runs aren't normal beer runs. My beer runs last week's. So I got to hurry up. To get this thing back in, I took some longer bolts and I started pulling it in that way. If you don't do that, that's going to go cockeye in there. And it's got to line that bearing up with the input shaft. So that's the best way to handle that. If you've got a couple different size bolts to get this in, because these might be, these will do it. These are the original ones. When I put this transmission together a couple years ago, all the shims were in the back, so I didn't have any shims to worry about in the front. Just walk it in. It's amazing they got those tolerances that tight back when they did. Okay. It's turning. It's where it needs to be. Now, the way this used to work is engine oil came in from the crank. It was pressurized into where the pilot bearing was. And it squirted out of these holes here, the lube, the clutch pack area. These holes here are drilled into the transmission, and that lubed the pilot bearing. I have blocked off all of that. I do not need that. So it feels a little tight, but it'll be all right. it'll wear in. I don't need that because I'm going to use modern grease. So I'm getting ready to put this transmission back in. Matter of fact, let me get my clutch pedal pack back together before I start putting grease everywhere. Now these keyways don't want to stay in on their own, so I'm just going to put a small little dimple right here, and it should allow them to stay in. If I get them in now, maybe that was too big of a dimple, huh? There we go. Now those keyways are going to stay there because this has got to flip upside down, and I don't want these falling off when I'm getting this transmission together, because that's one of the last things I do is get these ears lined up. Let's make sure I can get them on there now. Yeah, that one on there, that one on there. I might have to tap them in place, but now at least they're going to stay there. That one can probably get in a little bit farther. Okay, let me get that shaft secure. Look at that, right there. The rollout bearings. I've had this jug of grease since the 80s. Now, you want your shaft to go in smoothly. You got to lube it up. I don't want to get too much on here because, oh, that feels good. I don't want to get too much on here because I'm not going to show you the whole thing going in, but I'm going to show you an important part. That keyway's got to line up with the keyway on that. And let's just say it ain't easy. Okay, it's in. Guide pins, people. Even with that, I have hit my head so many times on shit under here. I am all out of motherfuckers. I know when to call it quits for the day. Oh, that feels good. It's cold. Well, it won't be long now. And I can go to land of the green belt. Get some more of this. I might as well finish my last one. I took a break yesterday. I called it quits. I was bashing my head on stuff under here and I got pissed off. It was time to quit. I need to tighten up. Doesn't want to focus because I got a light there. There we go. I need to tighten up these bolts from above. You saw that I adjusted the clutch. There'll be a spring on this that actually pulls this away from the throwout bearing so it's not touching it. The next thing is we do not want that touching the throwout bearing, so I'm going to move it away just a little bit. I'm going to do that on both sides, go up above, and tighten it up. And the goal is to have this running today. I might not have all the drivetrain in, but I am almost out of beer. And I can't work in the garage without beer. And my beer runs usually last about 2.5, 3 weeks. So got to get this running today.